Welcome back. We're back. Two fans, one Paul. Myself, David Quist. Lovely co-host, KB Kirk Brown. It's Natty preview day. I mean, the game's tomorrow. KB had a little family function, so we're a little late recording, but that's okay. Tomorrow's the game. We're ready to rock and roll. Some weird portal news has happened as well since we last chatted, KB. It's officially closed, but I believe guys that are in the portal can still sign. And obviously, I believe we said the spring window's gone, I believe. Yep, he nodding. So
Yep, correct.
Okay, good to be back. Things are gonna slow down after this weekend. Maybe we'll take a week or two off, but we'd love to, still post once a week or so as we head into the offseason. KB, how was your week in Palm Springs? How are we feeling about the portal? If you're gonna jump right into, some crazy stuff that happened right before the portal closed.
Yeah, Palm Springs was a lot of fun. I was able to attend my cousin's wedding there. It was a great time, great group of people. Really cool wedding venue too out there if anyone is getting married. It was called the Willows at something, but it's like on a cliffside. You can see all of Palm Springs. So if you ever get married in California area, I'd suggest that as a really, really cool, intimate place. But outside of that, yeah, excited about this game. Excited that the transfer portal is closed. With the way Michigan kind of handled everything, I was really happy with what that looked like. And outside of that, I think that we're still kind of in that weird situation in the transfer portal era where there's still so much looseness around all the rules and regulations and what can be enforced and what can't be enforced. So hopefully one day the NCAA steps up and actually puts on some barriers, but I do know a good part of that is that they're nervous about getting sued and then those barriers not mattering anyway. So Quist, I know there's a couple portal things that we wanted to talk about. Any MSU news for your team for portal wise, and then we'll go into the general thing, and I'll talk about some Michigan guys and that little back and forth here.
Yeah, I'm looking at On3 right now. Little surprising to see Rodney Bullard. He joined on the 16th, which is the last day it was open. He's a speedy guy from Valdosta State. I don't think we used him great, but he had a good stretch towards the end of the year. Aisa Moa goes to Michigan. He was a pretty good guy, I believe. I don't know where he's from, Utah. I can't remember where he transferred from. And then, I think State got a lot of guys, I feel like, that were either decent at the FCS level or lower level, and then, All-American or All-Conference, and then we got them. And obviously we lost a good amount of guys like Jalen Thompson. And obviously the tight end Mizunas went to Texas. I think that's a big loss. We had a trade, KB. We got Frederick Moore. So that's a trade between Michigan State. So, yeah, nothing too crazy. I guess we'll see what plays out. You never know anymore with these guys, And
can they make that leap, right? Will be a question heading into the next season for you guys with how much, I would say the lack of recruiting under Jonathan Smith and all of the portal entries the last couple of years is are those guys going to be able to make that leap for MSU to – we know they're going to be disciplined. We know they're going to be – but are they going to be skilled and talented enough to compete in a really difficult conference?
Yeah, the receiving core is one thing that I'm very interested in. I think, we still have Parachek at tight end. And obviously the trench play matters, as we all know. So we'll see what happens. I got to say the social media guys for State have been cooking. They had a really good speech for Fitz out there and then Max Bola's speech. And, obviously that's their job to get you going, but they're doing a tremendous job. And to segue, KB, into the big news, and then we can talk about Michigan. Mensa from Duke at the very last minute, the portal goes in, and it looks like he's going to go to Miami and get a bag. I know Ty Simpson was also offered $7 million to go to Miami, but he's in the draft. So just another crazy thing. It sounds like Mensa agreed. I don't know if a contract was signed, KB, like Damon Williams in Washington, but it just. I think it's a bad look for the athlete. I understand you're trying to get paid as much as you can before, life happens. Maybe you go to the league or, if I got that much money, I'd do my best to be retired and work part-time or open my own business. But, just another bad look of the portal agents, the adults in the room, who you think are the adults in the room, maybe loyalty doesn't matter anymore. Money talks, as one would say. But, yeah, just another interesting situation comparatively to the Damon Williams saga as well.
Yeah, the Mensa situation also sucks for Duke, right? They talked to him.
No time to get a quarterback.
Are you still good? Are you still everything? They're starting quarterbacks on the roster. No one's really talking to him, right? Because Miami didn't really have interest until they didn't get Ty Simpson and some of the other guys in the portal, like Levitt and stuff like that. And also, you got to remember that they're still actively playing, so they're on the back foot as they're still prepping for games.
True.
They don't know if people are going to return. You know, a lot of that stuff can be impacted, but just overall, it's a really messy situation. I don't know what tampering is anymore. The NCAA doesn't enforce it. May as well get rid of the rule. Let's because if someone can be promised everything, $10 million plus it sounds like, in full things with an Adidas sponsorship, directly. I think his sister's transferring to the school with guarantees that she'll have a scholarship or something like that.
Come on, guys, bring everybody over, right? Let's hire your mom and your dad while we're at it. Jesus.
A huge laundry list of things, right? And it's just pretty disappointing all that is kind of going on. I think that in this era is going to be marked by no enforcement of any NCAA rules, which is like some of the stuff that they have held people accountable on, MSU getting held accountable on, all that stuff. Obviously, Michigan's cheating scandal is a separate thing because I think most people think that they got off light, but still $20 million fine, all the show causes, and like the Burger Gate before that. Like Jim Harbaugh bought 2 players a burger and didn't remember and, you know, probably lied to the NCAA, and they gave him a 4-game suspension for buying burgers for recruits during a COVID dead period. And it's like, we can offer your family $10 million and a setup for the rest of your life. Like, it's very, very comical what's getting held accountable. Tennessee was literally handing money bags to players before that was legal at all, and they got 0 suspensions, only a scholarship reduction and a fine. So there's just no consistency on the enforcement. There's oftentimes no enforcement, which I think is the bigger problem in general. And something that I think we all need to kind of be aware of and clear is like the transfer portal is hurting a lot of players. Like the numbers of people that are still in the portal that played their last college football game unawares that, you know, when they originally committed to a university, that they would maybe have an opportunity at getting a scholarship because 1% of athletes go, you know, Division I or whatever, and then like of those 1% go pro. So when you think about the numbers, is like back in the day, you know, granted, not being able to transfer sucked, the control that universities had, but for all intents and purposes, it was usually actually a 4-year commitment from the university to you as long as you didn't break any rules, right? And you had an opportunity to get an education, you had an opportunity for a scholarship to get covered, and now teams are telling players, we don't want you here, we made a mistake recruiting you, enter the portal too. And that is just sucks because one of the big things and, you know, one of the founding principles of college sports was that it's not their student athlete. They are able to learn, able to get a scholarship, set them up for the rest of their lives. And that's certainly not the place where we're currently at. So
semi-pro.
Yeah. But I think the other thing is Raiola staying at Oregon, sitting behind when Dante Moore said he was returning. Sounds like he's going to take a full redshirt year because he played 2 consecutive years. He tore his ACL, so he's probably going to just take a rehab full year, learn the offense, new OC coming in. So hopefully by his next year, which he'd be a redshirt junior year, he'll be more than ready to play football. So outside of that, any other big news, because I want to cover some of the Michigan guys, and then we can kind of go into the big Natty game, which I'm excited about, although it being on a Monday night,
I hate it.
8 p.m. Eastern time does suck for basically everyone involved.
I'm not portal news, but the redshirt rule, KB, being changed, I think needs to be talked about. You know, might as well just give guys 5 years at this point. If you're going to say you can play 9 games and still get redshirted, you might as well just have a 5-year time. Like, you know, I don't really I like the 4-game rule. I think that's fair. You know, if a guy's struggling or gets hurt, or you want to get a guy in at the end of the year, like when we almost burned Sam Levitz, or I don't even know that whole thing. I guess I can't remember, but it's very interesting. In my opinion, you just go to 5 years. When you start at school, there's that 4-year clock that starts. You might as well just make it 5 if you're going to play 9 games and still get a red shirt, in my opinion.
I agree, Chris, and it's also really interesting that this rule is like a football rule, because in basketball, I think it's like 5 games and you can't play any more than that. And there's like 40 games in their season. Yeah. So like, are they going to be able to play 30 games and then be able to redshirt? So just sit them for the first 10 games of the year and then play them the rest of the 30. It's a very odd rule.
I mean, it used to be one snap and you were done, you know?
Yeah, which I think was also wrong due to like injuries, and you want to see them out on the field in general.
4 games was perfect.
I thought 4 games was perfect. I don't think the rule was any problem, but I agree, Quist. We should just re-look at everything, realize that, especially football and sports, all right, you have 5 years at a school, blah, 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 to complete your education, because, most people take, a bunch of people I know took 5 years to complete their education. There's a lot of credits and stuff. That's not including being an athlete. But
be like Darius Snow, who graduated from state and get 2 certificates and get your bachelor's. Like, guy's probably set to get a graphic designer job somewhere.
Yep, exactly. And that's, I think, what the opportunity is that some of these NIL people aren't thinking about is, like, there's more to life than the sport you're currently playing, and I know you can make a good amount of money, but also your education could be worth millions if you set it up right. But anyway, I do want to talk about Michigan. Michigan, they haven't killed in the portal, I'd say, but they've retained so many important players, which I think is the more important part. There's this group, the Winged Helmet, that tweeted out a good list. Obviously, keeping Marsh, keeping Underwood, Andrew Babalola saying Sprague, Jake Guanera. 3 of the starters on the offensive line, including Evan Link, are all coming back. You also have Babalola, Frazier. It's just a really good job. Zeke Berry came back. Jordan Young, who was a freshman DB, he got burned as hell against Ohio State, but true freshman in Ohio State, that's just not a good setup. Shamari Earls, who was a really highly touted cornerback that was dealing with some injuries, is returning. So that's a really good thing. Jair Hill returned. D-line helped Trey Pierce, which was a concern, and Eno Etta both returned. And then guys that came in from the portal, I'm going to kind of just list a few that are kind of the top tier important ones. Taylor Tatum, a running back, second or third string we'll possibly see. Jamie French, a wide receiver from Texas, who is a high 4-star. Celesi Moa, who is a true freshman athlete.
Moa's brother from state. That's why he transferred to Michigan.
Yeah. So Celesi Moa, he's a high, most likely going to be a receiver, and we know how much help that team, that room needs.
Where was he at?
And then,
wait, what school was he at before he transferred to Michigan? Was he at Utah?
Celesi Moa,
yeah.
Utah.
Okay.
So he was a true freshman that enrolled at Utah and then entered the portal.
Okay.
He did because obviously his coach, his coordinator that recruited him, both left to Michigan.
Just checking.
And then Isaiah Moa is his brother, the MSU kid. One of the big things is we had a kicker and a punter both leave. So we got Trey Bukowski from Pitt and Cameron Brown from UNLV. So we have some putter, some kicker and punter that we'll have some guys which we've really sucked at. And then obviously the recruiting class was able to be. It wasn't perfect. We lost Ty Haywood, which I think is a key departure, but he was most likely not going to play this year. He was a 5-star tackle that was a little bit behind Andrew Babalola, and he wasn't ready at the end of the year to play. So just overall, pretty happy with Michigan's portal, mostly just retaining some guys. We got some older QBs in the room that hopefully can help Bryce, the Colorado State guy. He's played a lot of football, and we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of building blocks there. They're going to be probably a young team again this year with what they've retained, and I think you have to be concerned about the defensive line and front seven in general, but if that's your really only concern after a portal of your coach cheating on his wife and getting a felony arrest charge, 2 weeks after the season ends and all of that kind of happening, there's worse things
much worse
out there. It could have literally blown up Michigan football with how the season ended, and they were able to recover really well. To be in a position with a really difficult schedule next year to just let's go win 8 or 9 games and we'll be able to build on that. But all right, now we got the Natty. I'm really excited about this game. It is a home game for Miami. It's played at Hard Rock.
Indiana will travel
Stadium
well
down there.
We know this.
Yeah, and we're just really excited that the stadium will be full. I know I've mentioned that a couple times.
Been there, KB. It was not full. It was not.
Yeah. It's a really fun stadium, really loud stadium when fans are going because you have the kind of canopy that knocks all the sound back down. It is open roofed due to it, but I'm really excited. They also rolled in brand new grass, so hopefully it isn't like the Super Bowl grass that MSU had a hand in and it was the worst grass I've ever seen.
Thanks, KB.
Even though they're a great agriculture school.
We're doing the World Cup, too, so hopefully we do it right.
Yeah, hopefully it isn't a repeat of the Super Bowl from a couple years ago where, yeah.
Not great.
We'll just leave it at that. But had to get my shot in there. This is going to be a really important game. Indiana's going for their first national championship. Miami, the U, possibly being back. I think they're back kind of regardless with what Cristobal's done there and able to do there. But Quist, give me your thoughts.
Yes.
What are we? The line is Indiana is favored by 7.5 points. What are our thoughts? Where are we going with this one, Quist? I know you're riding with Indiana, but any thoughts, any feelings on the game? Obviously, I have to ride with Miami due to the whole Mania because I'm one game behind Quist. Wish I would have remembered to flip the Michigan versus Texas game, and we could have both kind of picked this and it would have been the tiebreaker. Yeah, but give it to me, Quist. What are we thinking, brother?
Yeah, tiebreaker if you win, KB, I think is total points. So good luck. I'm not going to tell you what I put, but that's a hard one. I'll just say I have the over. But over-under is 47.5. And I think this is going to be a classic game, KB. The way these teams play, the O-line play, the D-line play. We've seen Miami really step up. You know, people didn't want to see them. I mean, I wanted them in. A lot of people didn't want to see them in the playoff. And Indiana's kind of a team of destiny. This is a movie being played out in front of our eyes. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of Disney movie, Kirk Signetti type thing, taking the worst team ever, second to Northwestern now in losses. Now that they're winning, no problem. 15-0. If they could win 16-0, that'd be a heck of a story. I love the Indiana offense. The unsung heroes of defense, making turnovers, getting stops, playing team defense. But yeah, shout out Mendoza. He's been playing great. I'm going to shout out the running back again, Black. He's been really good on the stretch, and Hemby's kind of been that silent guy. He'll put in his work like you've been shouting out KB and having a really good year. And I think for me, the difference makers are Indiana's receivers. You got Surratt, Charlie Becker's been stepping up, and then you got Cooper Jr., who's also very good. And if they do the same thing and make Miami make mistakes, because I don't think Carson Beck has really had to, besides that last drive against Ole Miss, KB, I don't think Carson Beck has had to do a lot. They really leaned on the run game. The line on both sides for Miami has really done a lot for them, which is how you win, as I want my team. Michigan State, if we had a good line and D-line, we probably could easily win 8-9 games a year. But Miami does a great job. Just get the ball out quick to Tony and the receivers. They do a lot of screens. Then you're going to just lean on Fletcher Jr. I do think Indiana's defense can slow that down a little bit. And then if Carson Beck has the game in his hands again, we've seen him make a lot of mistakes as he do that again. But I'm going to ride with Indiana. Signetti gets his guys going. A couple extra days of rest. I think, like I said, the receivers are really good. I know Miami's secondary is a little banged up, a little bit of targeting guys, at least for the first half, not going to be there. So if Mendoza gets a short field again, and Signetti and I don't even know who the coordinator is for Indiana, can do what they've been doing and lean on that run game. If it's a big lead again, KB, GG's. But I kind of hope it's a classic game. I love what Miami's kind of bringing here, kind of sneaking in, and the line has been the difference. Kind of want the game to be in Carson Beck's hands to see what he's made of. He's been in college for 8 years now, so let's see what happens. And could be just a tale of tape of a back and forth game, throwing haymakers, or running, taking shots, and then defense making plays. But looking forward to it. Give me Indiana, and I think they covered. They've been playing way too good. A little scary though with the O line and D line for Miami, but I think Indiana's just way too good. It's a team of destiny in my gut.
Yeah, is there a bigger coaching mismatch in maybe college football playoff championship game history from Signetti to Cristobal, just game management, intensity, how everyone feels prepared for games in and out? I don't know. Signetti has done, a world-class job at getting his guys in and coaching them up. The one thing I looked at is you look at what Trinidad Chambliss' stat line was. He had the athleticism to avoid a lot of pressure in that Miami game. He was really accurate. He avoided big mistakes. And Miami still was able to come back. And then when the game mattered, they were able to run the ball effectively. They were able to make big plays when it mattered. I mean, they probably should have 4 or 5 picks in that game, all things considered. They were lucky that they were drops. So Miami just plays, or I'll say it this way, Indiana just plays such a clean game. And Miami is turnover prone. They're penalty prone, and it's just so hard to win games when you do that consistently. That's why they lost those games during the year when they shouldn't have. They had a bunch of turnovers, 4 INT game for Beck, and then a 2 turnover game, including one in overtime, that lost them both their games this year. Can Miami avoid that? I think they're going to try to shorten this game. They want to establish the run, get more plays off, keep Indiana's offense off the field. If I was Indiana, I would ask for the ball first because there's times running the RPO, with how much man plays. Xavier Lucas is also missing the first half of this game due to targeting. Can you get up a lead on this Miami team? And then Indiana has been so good, for most of the year, but especially in the playoff, at doing like those Michigan, in college basketball, Michigan, for like 10 straight games just had kill shots where the momentum's on their side, they score, they immediately get a stop a turnover, they score, and in 5 minutes of game time's gone by and Indiana has the ball looking to go up 3 scores, and it's like, is the game already over?
Yep.
We saw that in the second half against Alabama when we came out of the half. Scored a touchdown right before the half, scored a touchdown after coming out of the half, turnover, touchdown is 21 points in 3 possessions, and the game was a blowout. Right? It was close at half. It was a one-score game going into the half, and it just landslided. We saw the start of the Oregon game. They just came in and absolutely got their dicks blown in. And then we see, what they did against Ohio State, but if you can absorb it and not let them go on those runs and keep it close, there's opportunities for this team to make mistakes at time, to not play as fast and loose and play a little bit tight. It's going to be a trench game. I think both teams are going to try to run the ball. I'd expect this to be lower scoring. Honestly, on both sides, I think Miami has an opportunity to win just because they're so good in the trenches, and that's where Indiana has really been killing everyone so far in this postseason and at the end of the year. But you look at who they've struggled with. Ohio State. Really, really good trench play, really good athletes on the outside that can test and push these cornerbacks. It's going to be interesting to see how Pons handles it. Pons has been playing so great. He had the pick 6 to start off the Oregon game. And then when you flip it, teams have been able to protect. And if Miami's O-line is good, if they can protect and keep the pressure off of them, maybe there's some opportunities off of back. Maybe there's some opportunities for this offense to score. You think maybe Iowa also played a really, really close, tightly contested battle against this Indiana team, and it's just you have to be disciplined. You have to play clean football, and you can't allow coverage busts. So we'll see if they're able to do that. One last thing before I wrap up talking is it's been a month since the first game was played. Oklahoma versus Alabama was played on December 19th. It's been a full month. And the playoff is now just wrapping up. Unacceptable. Too many days in between games. Too long from start to end. We have to figure this out. I just think it's unacceptable. I think it's also unacceptable. It's on a Monday night. I know you don't want to
every year, KB.
I know, but I don't know if you need to figure out a way. Pay the NFL to have like 2 Saturday games, and the Saturday night game is the college football playoff. There has to be a better solution to this. It is horrible that it's a Monday night game, and people are like, well, the viewership isn't as high as, the playoff game. Yeah, because no one's doing anything on Sunday in the middle of the winter. Like, people are doing lots of things on Monday nights during the winter. They have, school stuff. They have their kids' sports things. So I just think there's a huge opportunity to, involve both of these NFL and NCAA to, make a compromise and do what's better for all of the fans. But with all that being said, anything else, Chris, that you want to add on to this? I'm so excited for this game. I have tomorrow off from work for MLK Day, so I'm happy about that because I'll be able to watch the whole entire game.
I'm looking forward to the game. I'm really curious to see if Miami can run the ball against Indiana because we know that's what they really pushed. I didn't rewatch the game back, but thinking about the Ole Miss game, like Miami really just pushed them back 5-6 yards. They popped. They didn't make a big run or gash per se, but they were getting 5 or 6, 10 a pop when they needed to. And I don't think Indiana's going to get pushed around like that. So I'm kind of curious to see how they go back and forth. And obviously, I think Indiana, it might be the same kind of thing. I don't know how well Indiana can run against Miami, but I like Indiana's offense more per se. Watching them, I didn't watch a lot of Miami this year, but. I think the coaching makes a difference here. Down the stretch, if it's a close game, KB, and there's some game management going on with Cristobal, he could crumble. He did all right down the stretch against Ole Miss there, but Carson Beck, kind of did it as much as he needed to do and ran in for that late touchdown. But no, I think this is a great matchup. It's a fun game. Kind of shows the committee kind of got it right. We didn't want Miami to get in, or I say a lot of people didn't want them to get in. They want Notre Dame. I don't know if Notre Dame makes this run. Miami does what they have to do. And then you have, I said it already, a team of destiny in Indiana. They've just been wagoning people. They're the only team off a bye to win 1-7. Every other team has lost coming off a bye week, and you kind of just want to root for them as much as I don't want to because it's a rival and a trophy game. It's cool to see a team that kind of figured it out and start winning with a good coach, and then they're going to get money now, and they're going to get players in the portal like Marsh. So Indiana might be the next dynasty, and we'll see how that plays out. But I'm hoping they get to 16-0 at the Natty KB. That'd be a heck of a story and a 2-year turnaround. I don't think we could ever seen this coming, but with the portal and NAL, I think it's kind of cool to see a team kind of rise from the ashes that have been there forever, and good for them. So I got nothing else. Looking forward to the offseason, taking a little bit of slower time here, maybe once or so a week. But it's been a fun ride of the season, KB. Looking forward to watching this game, and obviously we'll be texting, going back and forth. So good luck. You need Miami to get that at least a tie, and then best of luck with your guests with the total points. But for me, one more time before the Natty, it's a big go green.
Yeah, you said it really well there, Quist. I mean, you couldn't literally write a story. Indiana's head coach, Natty, for those of you who aren't aware, wasn't able to find any head coaching jobs. He was on Alabama's staff for a while. He says, you know what? I need to take a D2 coaching job. I need to put myself out there as a head coach. Turns around the D2 program he steps up to, then goes to JMU, builds that up to winning a bunch of games, as I believe they were transitioning from FCS to FBS at the same time, and then took that trip down to Indiana, the worst D1 football program ever, the Hoosier State. It's a basketball school. They don't give a fuck. They're like the third most important university. Obviously, Notre Dame's the wagon in the state, and they're going to win a Natty, in this era before Notre Dame is, possibly. So it's just an incredible story. I'm rooting for them, for my wallet. I'm rooting for Miami, but it's an awesome story. And it's just going to be so interesting to see the success rate of the players that weren't high level recruits. Michigan was the lowest blue chip ratio, which blue chip ratio is like composite top 150 players in their recruiting class. Michigan won it, and they were the first ones to win it below 60%. I believe they were like 57%. Indiana's is way below that. So we'll see if the blue chip ratio in this era of the transfer portal, of this area, time where you can't sit on recruits, develop them for 3 years, keep them under your thumb, and hoard talent, like so many schools did. You think back to, I believe it was the 2016 Natty Championship Alabama team. They had 3 NFL starters in their QB room. They had like 5 wide receivers that were drafted in the first round. They had their third string running back went in the first round. The amount of talent that was amassing in some of these schools, for reasons that we now know is way obvious since everything has changed. Oh, it wasn't just because they're a good school. It's probably because they're getting paid and taken care of.
And a good coach.
Well, yeah, and the best coach of all time. I'm not knocking Saban, but the dynasty and continued success was from the talent, and then him rifling that talent even further up into a higher echelon than anyone's kind of done in the sport. But that it's just so weird to see kind of how everything has shifted in the impact of NIL and transfer portal. So this is kind of a referendum on all of that. Can a team that went from being the worst team ever kind of turn it all around with that? And then a team that uses NIL but from a blue blood perspective that can recruit and manage guys a little bit better, how does that all fare out? So I'm really excited. Thank you guys as always for listening. We talked about this as always. I just want to continue to remind you, feel free to reach out, send anything if you have any ideas, topics you want us to cover, items in the off season that, maybe it's even away from college football. Maybe we delve into other things. Chris and I are both very deep into most sports or whatever, but I want to say thank you guys for listening. We'll have a recap sometime after probably Tuesday or Wednesday this week to get a recap of the game. And thankful as always, and go blue.